Hello, my name is Mark. I'm going to demonstrate a practice I developed to help me as part of my physical recovery from an accident I had 5 years ago. I broke my back and my neck, and I have 7 fused vertebrae, 2 in the neck, 5 in the back. And I have a lot of nerve damage and a lot of muscles that don't work very well, very tight. I started coming to yoga 3 years ago, yoga therapy, and that's really helped me a lot. 6 months ago, I added extra practice periods at the gym, and that's where this series of poses that I do was developed. And I just did something to help me, but honestly, it's all the things that I was doing in yoga therapy that was hard for me. So I wanted to do them more so that it was easier when I came to therapy. But it's a nice program, and it takes about 20 minutes, and hopefully you will enjoy it too.
Hi, this is Jamie Perkunis, and I will be instructing Mark through his program. So this program is developed for after a workout. It's also possible if you're just getting started, if you prefer to do the sun salutations that we'll be doing in the middle of the workout, you can do that first as a warm-up. Otherwise, after walking on the treadmill or lifting weights or doing your program, exercise program, you're welcome to do this without the sun salutations first. So we're going to start with the first pose, which is bound angle pose. So the bottoms of your feet will come together, your knees will move apart, and in this particular pose, instead of focusing on bringing your head towards your feet, you're going to work on pressing your feet together and reaching your knees as far away from each other as possible, and eventually the knees will drop towards the ground. So connect with your breath here and allow the inner thighs to relax. Allow the spine to stay long. And as you're sustaining this pose, at any point, if there's knee pain or hip cramping, you can always place a block or place your hands underneath your knees if you prefer. The series we're doing, we will not be using props, but at any point you can use props. After coming out of bound angle pose, we're going to move into fire logs pose, or some people might call this burning logs pose. So in this particular pose, you'll want to cross your ankle over your opposite knee. So the shins are parallel to the short edge of the mat. And eventually, as we can see, as Mark holds this pose, his top knee is going to move towards his bottom foot. When you first start doing this pose, it's likely that your top knee is going to move up pretty far away from your bottom foot. It's important to keep your feet engaged by pulling the top of the foot up towards the shin. This action in the ankle is called dorsiflexion, but a lot of times it's termed as flexing your foot. And this will help protect the knees. Again, at any point, if this is uncomfortable in your knee, you can always place your hand underneath. You can place a block underneath your top knee. You can always back up to upright versus leaning forward if that would feel better for you. And slowly come out of that pose and move to the other side. So the stretches we'll be holding for about 10 breaths. It's best to use your breaths to determine how long to hold the pose. And it's best to try to hold the breath or to sustain the breath in a calm manner. So letting the breath move in and out through your nose. You might notice one side is more open than the other, and that's normal. You will feel a stretch on the outsides of your hips. Maybe both hips, maybe just the top hip. Notice if you're carrying tension anywhere else in your body, like your jaw, your shoulders. And try to release any tension in the body that you're holding on to. So the next pose is going to be hurdler stretch. So you're going to take your back leg and rotate it internally and bring the knee out to the side. And then you can bow forward over your straight leg. In this pose, it's okay for the back hip sit bone to be off the ground. This pose is not necessary that you touch your foot with your hands. So you can walk your hands to whatever position that you start to feel a stretch on the back of your straight leg. This will be held for about 10 breaths. And we'll go ahead and switch to the other side. And notice on this side that Mark has his hand out to the side to keep him balanced. So he's reaching his opposite hand towards his foot. And the same side hand of the straight leg is out to the side to help him stay balanced. The tendency is for you to lean towards the straight leg. There'll be a stretch felt on the back of the straight leg. Make sure that the foot stays flexed and the leg stays active. And keep your breath calm and deep. And then we'll move into hero's pose. So in hero's pose, your toes are going to point straight back. Pinky edges of your feet are going to be parallel to the long edges of your mat. In this pose, the goal is not necessarily to get your hips and your heels to touch. It's just sit back. Mark has been working in this pose for a few years and is able to sit his hips between his heels and move his hips towards the ground. If this causes knee pain, consider placing a block or a blanket underneath your hips. There might be a stretch felt in the front of the thighs and even at the top of the feet into the shin. From this pose, we're going to move into a pose called toe breaker pose, and your toes will curl under, and you're going to sit back, moving your hips towards your heels. So same as the pose prior, your hips and heels may not touch, and that's okay. You can place a blanket or a block to sit back on. This pose is called toe breaker pose because it might feel as though your toes will break. So be kind to yourself, and if you need to, walk your hands forward so there's not as much weight on your toes. Try to keep your breath calm and deep. From here, we'll move into what I call praying child's pose. So your big toes will come together, your knees will move wide, and you're going to walk your hands forward. Then bend the elbows, bringing your hands together, and bring your thumbs to the back of your head. Your hips move back towards your heels. You may feel stretch on the underside of your shoulder into your armpit or down the side of your body. This pose is considered a resting pose. So at any point during this program, if you would need to take a break, this might be a great pose to take. We're holding each of our stretching poses for about 10 breaths. Our next pose will be pigeon pose. So you're going to bring one knee forward, bending the knee and bring it to the opposite corner, and straighten the back leg behind you. Your forearms can come to the ground, and you'll feel a stretch and the outside of your front hip. In this pose, it's important to stay active. So keep kicking your front shin down towards the ground and keep kicking your back foot down into the ground. So there's activation of the muscles that you're stretching. And then we'll switch to the other side. So in this pose, there'll be a tendency to lean to the side that the hip is forward. So do your best to try to stay balanced between the back leg and the front leg. So both legs are bearing weight, both legs are active. The stretch will be primarily felt in the outer front hip. The next pose we're moving towards is called boat pose. So in boat pose, you're going to come to your sit bones, and you're going to lean back and lift both legs up, and lift both arms up. This pose we'll be holding for 5 breaths. You can work up to holding this pose to 10 breaths. So squeeze your legs towards each other. And as you come out, you can come into a forward fold with your feet together, knees apart. Just stretch out the back of the body. We're going to do boat pose a total of 3 times. So if you find this pose to be too intense, you can always keep your hands on the ground and just lift your legs. You can also consider bending the knees instead of straightening them. Squeeze your legs in towards each other, pull the belly button towards the spine, and then slowly come on out. We'll do this one more time. So take your time. This is a challenging pose. Do your best. Try to keep your breath calm and deep. When you've reached your 5 breaths, you can come into one more forward fold and rest. And then from here, we're going to move up to a standing position and start our sun salutations. Next, we'll be doing Surya Namaskar A and B, or sun salutation A and B. So come to the front of your mat and bring your hands together in front of your chest. Inhale, lift your chest up towards your hands, and exhale, release your hands down. Inhale, raise your arms up over your head, and then exhale, fold, bending the knees to bring the fingertips to the ground. Then inhale, start to pull your chest forward, and then exhale, start to straighten your legs and maybe even fold. Inhale, bend your knees, and exhale, step back to top of a push-up. Inhale here, and then exhale, lower down. Inhale, pull yourself forward and up into up dog or cobra, and exhale, push back to down dog. Then step forward to the front of your mat. Again, inhale, pull your chest forward with your knees bent, and then exhale, fold. Try to straighten your legs and keep your spine long. And then inhale, come all the way back up to standing. And exhale, release your hands down in front of your chest. Next will be Surya Namaskar B. So inhale, arms up. And exhale, sit into chair pose. Then exhale, fold, bring your fingertips to the ground. This time straighten the legs and fold. Inhale, pull your chest forward. And then exhale, step back to top of a push-up. Inhale at top of a push-up. Exhale, lower down. Point your toes back and inhale, pull your chest forward into Cobra Up Dog. And exhale, push back to Down Dog. Then step your right foot forward between your hands. Take your time. Lift your back knee and then inhale, come up into a modified warrior 1. And exhale, lower down, step back to top of a push-up. Hold for a breath and lower down. Point your toes back and inhale, pull your chest forward and up. And exhale, push back to Down Dog. Then step your left foot forward. You can always keep your back knee on the ground if you need. Otherwise, lift your back knee and inhale your arms up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, lower your arms down, step back, top of a push-up. Inhale here and exhale, lower. Point your toes back and inhale, pull your chest forward and up. And exhale, push back to Down Dog. And make your way to the front of your yoga mat. Inhale, pull your chest forward. Exhale, fold. And then inhale, lift your arms up and sink your hips down into chair. And then exhale, straighten your legs. Keep reaching up through your arms and lower your hands in front of your chest. And then take a few breaths in between the second set that we'll be doing. So move around, whatever you need. This might be a great place to take a child's pose if you would like. So next we'll be working on a transition from tree pose to warrior 3 pose. So shift your weight into your right foot and come into tree pose with your left leg. This is a balance pose and it's normal to feel off balance. So we'll hold tree pose for 5 breaths. When transitioning from tree pose to warrior 3 pose, you're going to bring your left knee forward and straighten your left leg out behind you as you reach your arms overhead. Take your time, keep your breath calm and deep, and know that it's likely you will lose your balance. And you'll need to work on keeping your balance. This is quite an advanced pose. Do your best to try to straighten both your legs. Keep your breath calm and deep. And when you come back into tree pose, the knee will come forward. And you can return your foot to your inner thigh. And sustain tree pose again for 5 breaths. Losing your balance does not mean you're not a good person. Actually means that you're working towards finding your balance. And we'll try it on the other side. So shift your weight into your left leg and come into tree pose with your right foot on your left inner thigh. Your hands can come in front of your chest. You will likely be work to find your balance. Do your best. Be nice to yourself. As you move into warrior 3 pose, your knee will come forward. You can reach your arms overhead and reach your foot back behind you. Try to straighten both your legs. Try to make your body parallel to the ground. Keep your breath calm and deep. Then make your way back to tree pose. So losing your balance during the transition is normal. Losing the balance in the pose is normal. Each day might be different. So today you might be off balance, tomorrow you might be more balanced. Next we're going to work into a series of standing poses. So we're going to work with warrior 2 pose and then transitioning to side angle pose and transitioning into half moon pose. So go ahead and come to the center of your mat and widen your legs and start to rotate your right toes out to the side and bend your right knee to 90-ish degrees. Reach your arms up parallel with the ground. So look down at your feet and make sure your front heel bisects your back arch. And then we'll move into side angle pose. So bring your right elbow to your right knee and reach your left arm overhead. You can also reach your right hand down to the ground on the inside of your right foot. This might be a time to grab a block if you would like to put your hand on something. More traditionally done, the arm will be on the outside of the foot. And then we'll move into half moon pose from here. So you're going to start to step your back foot in and bring your right hand to the ground in front of your right foot and reach your left leg up off the ground, parallel with the ground. Reach your left hand up towards the ceiling. Breathe. And then we'll slowly move back to side angle pose. And then we'll come back into warrior two pose. So we're holding each of these poses around 5 breaths. And then we'll slowly come on out. So you can shake things out before we go to the other side. So you're coming to the wide stance again. Turn your left toes out. You can turn your right toes in slightly and bend your front knee. Reach your arms up parallel with the ground. Try to keep the weight on your legs equal. So front foot and back foot bearing weight equally. Then bring your left forearm to the top of your left knee and reach your right arm overhead. And from your back heel through your right fingertips, reach. Get longer on the right side of your body. Side angle pose. And then we'll move into half moon. So shift your weight forward, lift your right leg up. Again, this is a balance pose. Do your best to try to straighten both your legs. You can also take a block underneath your left hand if you would like. Open up your body towards the long edge of your mat. And then slowly come back to side angle pose. Breathe, reach. Try to slow your breath down, in and out through the nose. And then warrior two pose. And then come on out. So the last pose we're going to do is baby dancer. So in baby dancer pose, it's going to be a balance pose and also stretch out the front of your thigh. So you're going to shift your weight into your right leg and then bend your left knee, and with your left hand grab your left foot. Try to keep your thighs parallel to each other and reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. So you're welcome to stay here, or you can start to bow forward, kicking your bent knee back behind you and bowing forward. It makes it more of a balance pose. It's okay to lose the balance. Try to fall gracefully and breathe. And then slowly come back up to upright. And with control, with ease, try to come out of the pose. And we'll try it on the other side. So set a nice steady foundation. Your left foot, spread your toes, shift your weight, and grab your right foot with your right hand. So it'll be a quad stretch on the right, and then lift your left arm up. So reach your left arm up, reach your right knee down. Try to keep your thighs parallel. You can always use a strap around your foot to help your hand and your foot be in contact with each other if it's hard for you to grab your foot with your hand. And then you can start to bow forward. Similar to Warrior 3, try to make your body parallel to the ground, and falling is a part of the pose. Being close to a wall is helpful. Having something out in front of you to hold on to is helpful. Try to keep your breath calm and deep. Try to slowly come out of the pose with ease, even if you feel imbalanced. And that will conclude our yoga program. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.